Alright, so this is going to be a bit of a deep dive into how I traced down this match from Call of Duty Cold War to a 41-year-old FA Cup match. And what was helpful about this one is that it wasn't in the background. We actually get a pretty good look at the match, but it is quite grainy, so you can't really pick out any logos or anything like that. But these kits did look familiar to me, but initially I couldn't place the team. So I started off very broad, just looking for European clubs in the 1970s and 80s, which got me to our team in red pretty quickly because the team in question was Nottingham Forest, who were kind of a big deal during that time with 2 European Cups and 1 First Division title. But that was really just the beginning because I still had to figure out who the other team on the field was and when the match happened. I decided to start with when the match happened, and by going through Nottingham's kit history, it honestly didn't help as much as I thought it would, because I couldn't make out whether these shirts had these faint lines that were added to the shirts in 1981. But at least I did get a range, and it was from between 1977 and 1984 that they wore these red Adidas shirts and white shorts. And then I could narrow it down a little bit more because I knew that Forest goalkeeper here is the recognizable Peter Shilton, and he didn't transfer to Forest until September of 1977. So now we have about 7.5 years that it could be in. And for some reason, I thought that this game was going to be from one of their European Cup runs. I guess my thinking was that the footage would have been the most readily available, which actually was true. I had a much easier time trying to find those matches online as opposed to any other match I'll get to later, but the European Cup ended up being a dead end. The only team that got my hopes up was Grasshopper Club Zurich from Switzerland, and that match was available online, so check this out. From this view, I thought I had it. Forest is in the right kits, the Grasshoppers are wearing white shirts and blue shorts, and the pitch is kind of a muddy mess just like we see in the video game. Unfortunately, in the close shots, you can see that the numbers on their shirts are not the same. These ones are lined like a lot of the Adidas shirts were at the time, but the numbers from the video game are filled in like you can see here. So that wasn't our game. And then the rest of their opponents in the European Cup tournament, none of them had kits that looked like the ones in question. And as much as that kind of sucked that it was a dead end, at least I was able to shift my focus to just England. So then it was really just trying to match a team to the one from the video game, which is one that wears a kit with white shirts and navy blue shorts. So Tottenham was a pretty obvious place to start for me, and if you look at their shirts at the time, you might get excited thinking that we found our team, but again, the numbers don't quite match, and I mean, this difference is ever so slight, but look at those two next to each other. They aren't quite the same. And then later on, Tottenham's numbers became more sharp and 3D, so it wasn't going to be them. Then I went to West Brom, and it definitely wasn't them because during that time, they always had the blue and white stripes on their shirt, so we can just take them out. And that's when I came across a team that I hadn't thought about in a very long time. Honestly, the last time I thought about them was probably Ronaldo's debut, and that was the Bolton Wanderers. We had finally found the white shirts and navy blue shorts, as well as the numbers that are bang on from the ones that are in the match from the video game, like you can see right here. It had to be the Bolton Wanderers. And during those years, they only played Nottingham 6 times, 4 times in the First Division and twice in the FA Cup. I was able to figure out pretty quickly that this game happened in Bolton, most notably because of the shape of the posts here. Nottingham in those years only had these goal posts, which are definitely not the ones that we see here, whereas Bolton had ones that look like this, which is almost exactly what we see here. So that narrows things down to 3 matches, and those matches are November 25th, 1978, March 1st, 1980, and January 6th, 1981. So let's start eliminating some games, but I will say that there was absolutely nothing online when it comes to videos of any of these matches, so we had to kick it old school with some newspapers. So for the November 25th, 1978 match, the Football Post describes the lone goal scored in that game by Nottingham Forest John Robertson as a freak goal scored off of a free kick. And we see the goal scored by Forest here, and I would not describe that as freak at all. Actually, quite a nice goal. And it wasn't started from a free kick, so I don't think that this is our game. Then let's go to March 1st, 1980. Well, it was a 1-0 win for Bolton, so it can't be that game because we see Nottingham score here. Which leaves us with the January 6th, 1981 FA Cup match, and this article from the Newcastle Journal describes the goal like this. It was a piece of sheer quality coming in the 22nd minute of extra time as Trevor Francis controlled a pass from Peter Ward, drew goalkeeper Dennis Peacock, and calmly slotted the ball home, which sounds a lot like what we're seeing in this clip. But it was difficult to identify some of the players here, so I reached out to a person who was on the team and was involved in the goal scored in the newspaper article, and who is hopefully our number 8 right here, and that is Peter Ward. And he first explained why it was so difficult to identify players based solely on their numbers.
You didn't have an exact number like you do these days. It was just, a number for that sort of position.
And that very much came into play here because in 1981 alone, Raymondo Ponte, John Robertson, Ian Wallace, Ian Bowyer, and Peter Ward all wore number 8 at one time or another. And we can eliminate some of them, but this really could be a few of those guys. I was pretty confident that it was Ward, but I really couldn't tell. So then I asked the $1 million question. Did he think it was him delivering a pass on the TV screen in Call of Duty?
It looks like me and it runs like me, but I can't remember the game at all. I'm racking my brain. I can remember a lot of games, to be honest. I can't remember that one. But that definitely looks like me.
And there it is. He thinks that it's him, so I think it's safe to say that this is our match, and it ended 1-0 in favor of Nottingham Forest. I would legitimately love to find these tapes just to confirm it, so again, if Nottingham Forest, the Bolton Wanderers, or the FA see this, release the tapes. And if you guys like this video and want to see more deep dives into how I solve these sports mysteries, please like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.